inspired by a ghost storytelling tradition in Japan. Only the stories that we'll hear today are the names of those who've been murdered in the past 12 months for being or being suspected of being transgender. The names have been collected by the Transrespect versus Transphobia Worldwide project. There are 271 names on the list today, but this isn't the total number. In fact, we've no way of telling what that number might be because the large areas of the world don't keep these records or don't recognise a person's transgender identity. There are no names from most of Africa, Asia, Russia, and these are parts of the world where we know there are transgender people and we know they experience great oppression. We can also suspect that there are other names on the list that have gone unrecorded. But what we do know is that violence against the trans community is disproportionately high, and that's why today exists. Whilst we acknowledge there's much to celebrate, we also take this moment to remember those who were killed and to acknowledge that much of the violence that is addressed to trans people is directed at those outside of Europe. In particular, those who are read as trans women, and in particular, trans women of colour, and in particular, trans women of colour who are also sex workers. There are a lot of questions and complexities around holding today's space about the contribution of Western colonialism that's behind why many of the names here are not from the UK and Europe. And I'm aware it's a massive privilege for us to hold an event like this and to stand in solidarity with the trans people who've lost their lives in the last year rather than being other statistics. When we don't have privilege in mainstream society, it's hard to remember that we probably do have it within the global picture. And if we want to use these deaths as a focusing and rallying point to collectively hold one another, grieve and celebrate, then we must also do what we can the rest of the time. As well as celebrating and remembering, we've got to also work and fight to help to support trans people, especially those whose presence on today's list is disproportionately high. We've got to celebrate them while they're alive. We've got to share their stories, listen to them, invite them to speak, and invite them to dinner. We've got to lobby politicians, send money, write to newspapers. So this is about remembering and not forgetting, about those we've lost, and about fighting back and keeping going. When we're ready,